Hello. Today we talk about the science behind advertising investments, how to make scientific advertising media allocation decisions in order to drive consistent improvement in ROI. The focus on this pitch is going to be mostly focusing on sharing the methodologies, the frameworks, and the open source libraries that you can implement today in your business in order to drive better decision making in how you allocate your media investments and how you distribute it and the results that you get. So, first thing first, who am I? I'm Gabriel, co-founder of Cassandra. Cassandra is a marketing measurement and optimization platform that allows non-technical marketers to get scientific media allocation decisions. Now, we've helped and analyzed more than 800 companies worldwide and analyzed roughly $3 billion in advertising investments. Between our client base, there are the biggest and the best advertisers in the world. And today, I'm going to talk about scientific media allocation. But in order to do that, we need to focus on a previous step. In order to make decisions, we need to have good measurement data. We need to have a clear picture of what is really working right now and the measurements and the ROI measurement of each investment that actually reflects reality. Now, this is particularly interesting right now because we live in a privacy-driven era in which we cannot track the user's behavior. We came from 2012 to 2018 in a gold era of digital in which there was no regulations whatsoever on how users navigated online. But starting from 2018, this phenomenon started to change. With the first cookie policies in Europe, users could opt out from being tracked in their customer journey. And today, with cookies deprecation, iOS device opt-out tracking, with always more ad blockers, we are in a situation in which it's incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to track the user behavior. And all the systems that we've been using so far do not work anymore. I'm going to explain what I mean by they don't work anymore. This is how digital tracking works. And I'm sorry if I simplified it too much, but in order to make my message clear, I created these graphics, these really simple graphics. So what we have here is you navigate online, right? You go to a website. This website gives you a cookie. This cookie allows the website to understand who you are and specifically to understand if you entered and navigated to the website before and where you came from. All this information is collected in a customer journey path. This customer journey path, as we can see here, it shows us how many interactions we had before buying and where we were coming from before entering and visiting the website. Now imagine a database, each row representing each user's customer journey path. And then we give this database and this dataset to a certain list of algorithms that allow us to do last click, first click, linear, position-based, time decay, data-driven attribution. Now, this is super relevant and this worked really well until 2018. Since 2021 and go on, and 2024, this is happening. Cookies are being deprecated. People can opt out right now from being tracked. And if people can opt out from being tracked, it means that the customer journey is absent. We can only have a specific data point, which is the last click, the last source that the user saw before buying. And this allows us to do effectively only one type of attribution, which is last click. Now, if we can only see bottom of the funnel campaign performances, how do we make decisions for mid-funnel and upper funnel campaigns? Right now, we are in a marketing mix. We need to solve the marketing mix complexity in which we have always more data source and media source in which we can invest. We pivoted from a advertising investments that was focusing on growth at all costs to a advertising investments that needs to find efficiency in the marketing mix in order to drive better profit for all the shareholders. So what we need to do as marketers is we need to have effective measurement in order to evaluate the ROI of each media. Right now, the minimum benchmark and the minimum standard for this is to measure all media ROI. Bottom of the funnel, upper of the funnel, offline ROI, online media ROI. We need to understand also the impact of digital investments on offline distribution. We need to detect whether we are wasting our marketing budget in specific campaign types. We need to detect where there are some campaign types or channels in which we can drive better growth, more growth. And we need to understand how, at the end, how to distribute the marketing overall. So in order to do that, this is how the best brands in the world work. They don't use one system and rely only on that one system, but they use and combine and triangulate 3 systems in order to measure incrementality. Now, these 3 systems are digital tracking, that we all know, marketing mix modeling, we're going to study that in detail, and incrementality test. Now, before we dive into each one of the 3 methodologies, we need to define what is incrementality. And I'm going to compare it to what we have used to see in the digital arena, which is tracking versus incrementality. Tracking allows us to find where people were coming from before buying. So where we try to track what their behavior. So what we do is we study the behavior of each user, and from that particular behavior, we try to understand, we use it as a proxy to measure the effectiveness of the media where it came from before buying. Well, incrementality switches the subject of the study. It doesn't study the user, but it studies how overall sales change based on the change in spend. So what we try to answer here is discover the extra sales that we generated because we invested in channel X. This is really, really important. Now, understood what is incrementality, let's focus on marketing mix modeling. Marketing mix modeling, the classic definition is using advanced statistical technique on historical data to measure incrementality and optimize the marketing mix. This doesn't define, it's a really bad word. It looks really complex, but I will try to simplify it for you. So this is how it works. We get 3 years of historical data with weekly or daily granularity. But what we do is we get how much we've spent in each media or campaign type in the past 3 years. We try to define and get how many emails and SMS or impressions for SEO, for example, we've generated in the past 3 years. Context variables that, like, for example, events, discounts, promotions, or that are internal variables or external variables, like, for example, if there was COVID, the interest rate, or any external factor like weather that might have influenced your sales over time. And then at the end, we have the last variable, which is also the output variable, which is total sales. We don't want attributed sales. We want total sales from the CMS or the CRM or the tool that you use to track the overall performances of your company. And then we use this data set with an algorithm. There are multiple algorithms that you can use. And we train a marketing mix model. A marketing mix model is a mathematical model that tries to understand how much each of these 3 type of factors influence sales. And these allow us to measure online media ROI. It also allows us to measure the ROI of digital campaigns and offline distribution, if we have the sellout data. It allows us to measure only incrementality, so only the incremental sales we generated because we spent. It allows us to measure seasonality, so we can understand how much to change our budget during the year in order to capitalize on the existing demand, specifically focusing on performance marketing. Estimate the media saturation and the diminishing returns of each channel in order to understand whether we are overspending or underspending. And at the end, you want to get a media allocator, a media mix allocator that can help you with your decision making. So you can simulate scenarios, predict the impact of each media mix that you simulate, and choose only the one that matches best your business objectives. Now, as you understood so far, marketing mix modeling, what it does, it tries to understand what change in total sales are described by change in spend over time. And it's to simplify it, it's a correlation-based tool. And we know that correlation is not causation. So this is the first step for the scientific part. What we need to do in order to be really, really scientific with our measurements is we need to validate and inference the causal relationship of media and sales per each channel. So we use marketing mix modeling in order to drive and have measurement hypothesis that then we validate through another tool, which is incrementality test. But incrementality tests are useful because it allows us to inference the causal relationship between the media spend and the output and total sale. So what happens is, with correlation, we measure the phenomenon. So we look at the phenomenon and we try to understand and try to hypothesize a specific relation. While causation, or causal inference, it tries to understand the cause-effect relation. While correlation can be detected by an analysis on historical data, causation can only be run and defined by running experiments. Imagine to be a scientist. You see a phenomenon, you have an hypothesis, and then you test this hypothesis in a lab. This is exactly what we're doing here. In order to have scientific measurements, we need to dress and as a scientist, and we need to work with measurement hypothesis and validate this measurement hypothesis through experiment. Now, let's talk about experiments, because in this case, these are called incrementality tests, which are specific A/B tests that are used to determine the true scientific incremental contribution of a specific channel for a specific budget allocated. There are tons of experiments out there that can help you inference the causal relationship. The most famous ones are two. The first one is conversion lift. Conversion lifts work in this way. Let's say you run advertising on Meta, Google, TikTok. You have your specific audience that you are targeting. What they do is they hold out 20% of your audience, in which they stop showing your ads to them. And in the next 30 days, what they do is they compare how many of the people that see your ad and buy with the people that don't see your ad, but then end up buying. The difference between these two groups allow us to understand what's the incremental contribution of that specific. These tools are super helpful and super good. They work really well for digital distribution, but have some limitations. These limitations are they only work with Meta, Google, and TikTok ad platform, and they can only measure the effect of your digital campaigns on your online distribution because they rely on UTMs and pixel and conversion data tracking. Now, other than the conversion lift, in order to solve this limitation, there is a new methodology, which is not new, it's just not really adopted massively. It's called geolifts, which are still A/B tests that discriminate based on geography, that allow us to validate the incremental contribution of a channel on their online distribution or offline distribution. Let's say, to give you a real example, imagine that you want to validate the incremental contribution of Google search brand. And you want to see whether the attribution of Google ads match the incremental sales that it generates. Because maybe people would have anyway, even without me spending money into Google search brand. So what we do is we stop spending on Google search brand in specific states in US. And we wait 15 days. And in these 15 days, we take a look and analyze the change in total sales in the regions which we stopped spending. And we compare it to the regions which we continue spending. The difference between these two groups allow us to determine the incremental effect of Google search brand. And if we repeat that with multiple experiments, we can validate at scale measurements of each campaign type in our marketing mix. The only limitation that this methodology has is the design of the experiments. So ensuring that defining and designing the real good regions, the right budget, and the right time length is really crucial, because it's really easy to mess it up and not have a statistically significant result. And other than that, you need to be able to discriminate your spend based on geography. This is the second limit. Now, there are a lot of libraries that you can use out there, but the two most famous ones are geolifts, developed by Meta, and Match Markets, developed by Google. These two open source libraries work really well. Once we finish the experiment, either with conversion lifts or geolifts, you can use the output of these analysis to recalibrate your marketing mix model. So what you do is you refresh the model with the new data, and then you add the calibration and the incrementality test results in the model in order to make it more robust and better in forecasting future outcomes. So let's say you validate this over time and you run multiple experiments. You use the output to calibrate the model, and after 3 months, 6 months, your model becomes extremely robust, and it becomes an extremely useful tool in order to make decisions in your marketing mix. Once it becomes that, what you can do is you can start making scientific media allocation decisions. So you can have your marketing mix modeling work for you in order to understand how to distribute your 10 million euros in advertising budget and forecasting the next month of advertising investment. So I'll show you how it works in a practical example using Cassandra, because it's the easiest tool to do that. So once you build a really robust model, what you can do is you can have your budget allocator work for you and tell you how you should distribute the marketing budget in order to have an improvement in ROI. So let's say we want to invest this amount of budget in the next 4 weeks. Call it YouTube. In this case, this is just the name of the budget allocator simulation. And let's decide a time frame that we want to forecast. We click optimize budget, and automatically it's going to tell us exactly how we should distribute that budget that we inputted in order to maximize our ROI. So what it's basically telling us in this example is that we're going to invest the same amount of budget, but if we decrease the marketing budget on this channel, we increase it on Facebook, we increase it on TikTok, we decrease it on Google Search Now Brand, we increase it on Grooven. With the same budget allocated, we're going to get 7% more revenue and literally 7% more ROI. Obviously, what we try to do is to set expectation for everyone in the best way possible. So what you can do here is you simulated your scenarios, and this is the contribution of your media, but also there's going to be an effect also coming from seasonality. And you want to forecast that in order to set expectation with all your stakeholders. So in seasonality, in the next 4 weeks is expected to have a negative impact on your sales, driving 12 million euros less contribution compared to the previous period. Now, to find that, what you can do is you can allocate this scenario, given that your model is robust, that can actually predict future outcome. And after 1 month, after these 4 weeks that we forecasted, you can refresh the model, right? Refresh the model and then check whether the forecast of the budget allocator matches the reality. Now, this tool is extremely powerful because it uses scientific-based measurement systems in order to help you with your decision making and help you getting more ROI out of your media investments, and media dollars. So coming back to our presentation. Now, we have a budget allocator that can help us with our decision making, but I don't want to be just that. I want to give you all the knowledge and all the useful materials in order to learn how to implement it internally in your company today. So this is why we created a free repository of all the masterclass, open source libraries, documentation in one Notion place that you can access by screenshotting this QR or going into the description and clicking the link down below in the description and access all these resources for free. Hopefully this can help you in your operation, and I'm really looking forward to know what you think and understand how we can help you. Thank you a lot. Cheers.